This podcast is brought to you by Legend Comics and Coffee in Omaha, Nebraska, located in scenic downtown Benson. They got a new location. It's absolutely gorgeous. Check it out. And by listeners like you. Go to Patreon.com/2headed nerd. Become a patron. Support this show.
Our story this week picks up where we left off last week.
Broadcasting from the Ziggurat in Omaha and caverns deep below the metro area, it's our pleasure to welcome you to episode 736 of the Two-Headed Nerd Comic Book Podcast, and I am your head, number one, and my name is Matt Baum.
That makes me, the internet's Joe Patrick, your head number two. It's time for another mind-mangling new comic show where we'll review 8 new comics from the last 2 New Comic Wednesdays. After that, we'll set you up with our must-read new comic picks for next week.
And finally, you're going to get a sampling of our Patreon Extra, where this time, one of our Discord love slaves asked for a suggested Spectre reading. So, the comic pushers are on the case, specifically Joe Patrick. But now, we've got our sacred antlers on because our pagan Easter celebration has begun. And we've devoured a dozen Cadbury cream eggs each. So get ready for pure, sugar-fueled rage during the review time in the Ziggurat. As always, our reviews begin with 4 comics from last week, and then we roll into 4 from this week. Each one will be judged with our 3-point rating scale of buy it, skim it, or leave it. And the only thing uglier than our scale is our Mole Man Spring Solstice Orgy. You do not want to be around, trust me. Joe, what's in the pile this week?
I don't even want to be around, and I work here.
Too bad. It's part of the job, pal.
This time, our beautifully budding comics pile features the return of McFarlane's Buddy Cop book, cute talking animals in body armor. I guess it's more like tech armor. The Goon's 25th birthday. Dude looks rough for 25.
A rough 25 years.
Doesn't look a day older than 65. Ram V's take on Neon Genesis Evangelion and more. But it all starts with Bloodshot getting his face blown off.
New comics from the week of Wednesday, March 20th. Booyah.
We begin with Bloodshot, Unleashed, Reloaded, number 1. It's from Valiant. It's 32 pages. It's $3.99. It's written by Dennis Camp with cover by Agustin Alessio, art by Al Barrio Nuevo, colors by Ezequiel Fernandez Roel, and letters by Ezequiel Inverni. 2 Ezekiels. One's an X, one's a Z. But hey, not something you see every day.
Pronounce that Ezekiel, like the biblical name.
Ezekiel. Tomato, tomato. Here's your solicit. Bloodshot is back and bloodier than ever. Hit the street with Bloodshot as he tries to hang on to his sanity and humanity while monsters from his past hunt him down. Okay, so that's solicit. Let's just start there. Seems pretty generic. Kind of like could apply to any Bloodshot book. And the reason being is because I have no friggin' idea like where this is coming from, where it came from, where it's going. We don't even get a name for the bad guy in this book. It just starts with a full page spread of a black Stone Cold Steve Austin looking guy with smoke coming out of his eyes, looking through a hole in Bloodshot's head right at the reader. Yeah. And he says, "I'm a killer robot. What's your excuse?" No setup. No clue how this started.
I'm sure that it's picking up from something, but there's nothing in the comic to indicate that whatsoever. My second point, though, is isn't every Bloodshot comic about something from his past coming back?
Yeah, that's just it. That's what I'm saying. Like, even the solicit seems like it wasn't really sure what was going to happen in this book.
It's very non-committal in terms of the plot.
So if we peel back the business of Valiant Comics a little bit and some of the troubles they've had, the original Bloodshot Unleashed was supposed to be 10 issues. Something happened.
Don't let anyone pull back your business. Yeah, all right. Don't let anyone pull back their business.
That's only for professionals. Okay. So
this was supposed to be one series.
They were going to do 10 issues, one series. Something happened. We got 4 issues. I checked out the 4th issue. It ends on a very confusing note and also doesn't do a great job setting this issue up. So it may not be the fault of these creators at all, but look.
Did you check who wrote the last issue, though?
Dennis Camp wrote it.
Well, then it is his fault.
I mean, I don't know what kind of editorial hacking and jacking was done to make this 2 separate miniseries, is what I'm saying.
I understand, but nobody in editorial is going to be like, make this less or make this more confusing.
I suppose.
Like, that's never going to be an editorial note.
But then again,
Dennis Camp went from issue 4 to essentially issue 5, and there is no connective tissue linking the two.
I totally agree. But what I'm saying is we don't know if editorial just hacked it up and threw it out and put it together.
I suppose.
That's my point. I don't know who to blame for this, but I gotta blame somebody, so I'm blaming the book. All right. We get a cartoon version of Bloodshot, shows up, and he's revealed as a narrator who's criticizing Bloodshot the whole time. It's like one long chase scene, basically, with this unnamed bad guy who's just murdering
Stone Cold
people,
Steve Austin.
who we will refer to as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to represent Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I guess.
Turned into a deadly cyborg.
And like he's just murdering people with these like little vignettes of like, oh, they were just a normal person who, had a husband and the husband died of a bad heart and that broke her heart. And now Stone Cold Steve Austin's going to rip her heart out of her chest. And that's the last we'll hear of her.
Yeah.
And the art, I mean, look, if you're going to go full gore, then you got to be able to do it. And I don't think the art is detailed enough maybe to really pull it off. It just looks like, oh, he's pulling a red fire hose out of this guy and this guy got cut in half and there's a red fire hose.
I didn't think it was bad.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's like there's guys that can do this. Jason Burrows, that's a guy that can do gore. Like you turn the page.
You like to see every link of intestine,
but it's like they're trying to elicit that, and it's just not working here with this art. Not that the art is bad, it's just not working for the type of story. Maybe not that there's a whole lot of story here because I couldn't follow it at all. I mean, this just reads like you got dropped into the middle of a storyline, or not even the middle. The end of a storyline where he's finally caught up to the big bad and figures out how to beat him. But even in this case, like the action is weird enough where it's like you see Bloodshot go, oh, I got to figure it out now. And he just shoots him.
But that's just it, right? Is that he spends the whole issue shooting him.
Right.
And so his big revelation is to shoot him again.
That's what I don't. Yeah.
Like, that's like, oh, with a bigger gun. Okay. Or like up close. I don't know. But
I guess. And it's like all in the service of setting up a very clever last page, which is similar to the first page.
That was a bit of clever storytelling, but yes.
I don't know who to blame here, but if you didn't read Camp's previous Bloodshot Unleashed book that finished in 2022, mind you, not last year, 2 years ago, you might have no idea what's going on here. And that, like I mentioned, that story was supposed to be 10 issues. It was shortened to 4. This is also 4. That's a total of 8 issues. So 2 issues are out there somewhere. They may fill in some of these gaps.
Maybe issues 5 and 10 are missing from the equation. Or 5 and 6, and this is number 7.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, look, I got to fault Valiant for this. I find it hard to believe that the creative team would make this choice. Maybe they did.
Look,
either way, this is a leave it. It's a leave it. It doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't look that great. And it didn't do anything for me. It's a leave it.
So first off, yes, I agree. It's a leave it. This comic was terrible.
Yeah.
Second of all, you're being very generous to the creators. I'm not saying that I'm not saying there wasn't any sort of editorial finagling, but to what end?
I don't know, but like I've read
like
Camp
what would the
stuff,
point have been?
And there's no way Camp in his right mind's like, yeah, let's start the miniseries like this.
Why not just divvy it up into 2 5-issue books?
Good question. I don't know.
So that's sort of like,
but this doesn't make sense.
I don't mean this to like denigrate you or anything, but that sort of conspiratorial thinking doesn't make any sense to me because I don't know why any publisher would make that decision.
I don't either. But why would the creators make this decision?
On the other hand, the publisher looked at this and went, looks good. Let's go.
Exactly.
I don't know who is ultimately to blame. I mean, I guess the buck stops with the publisher, but
I suppose I mean,
this will make me side eye anything Dennis Camp writes in the future because this book is legitimately terrible.
It was bizarre. I mean, not only was it not great, just like maybe it would.
It's incoherent.
It's incoherent. Yes. That's its biggest flaw. It's incoherent. And he doesn't write other stuff that he's written is not incoherent. Maybe it's not excellent. Maybe it's not terrible, but it made fucking sense. I don't know what this is.
I mean, So you say, but I can't think of any Dennis Camp books off the top of my head. So
Fair enough.
bottom line is like, I don't want to bash on anybody over and over and over, but this is not a good comic book. It's a leave it. It's a failure in storytelling. It's a failure in editing. This should have gone back to the drawing board.
Yeah. I mean, Camp's writing 20th Century Men for Image. That's a great book.
All right.
Really, really
sure.
good book. He wrote that Children of the Vault.
But I've heard good things about it.
He wrote that Children of the Vault mini for the X-Men thing for Marvel.
We didn't read that.
We read the first one.
Didn't.
Yeah, we read the first one. It was fine.
We did.
I don't care about the Children of the Vault. It was my, my end of thing, but this comic was fine. Yeah, I'm just saying the guy can write stuff. This is just
Sure. Not this time, guys. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
It's a leave it.
Discovery, your goal for APU shutdown on time.
From the mind of Ram V comes a surprising new all-ages title.
time out.
Not so fast, true believers.
Yeah, I don't know what made us believe that this was all ages. Was that?
We'll get there.
Okay, it was written somewhere, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We are talking about Dawnrunner #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Ram V. Art is by Evan Cagle. Colors are by Dave Stewart. Letters by Aditya Bidikar. It's 32 pages for $4.99. And here is your solicit. A century ago, a portal opened over Central America, and the Tetza that came through changed our world. Now the world bends all its effort to making the Iron Kings, great mechs that must battle the Tetza for humanity's continued survival in gladiatorial combat. Anita Marr is the greatest of the pilots and is chosen to pilot a new prototype that could change the tide in humanity's favor. An all-ages sci-fi epic from Rising Stars, Ram V, and Evan Cagle.
Well, I mean, no. No, it's not. They're dropping F-bombs. You know?
I think that maybe there was a communication breakdown, or they cut and pasted terms from other solicits or something. Something happened. Obviously, this isn't an all-ages book.
No.
It makes no claims to the contrary.
No.
Though I bet that does end up making the book returnable, if I remember my Diamond Comics terms of sale.
Oh, I'm sure they've wiped that from their terms since then. It can't be. It's not like they stayed fair.
Yeah, Matt, you can't publish. Yes, Matt, they have terms of sale. If a book is significantly different than advertising.
Yeah, I just don't trust those jerks at Diamond, but.
Well, they're not the only game in town anymore, so.
That's true. So maybe
they got to behave. As we said, don't let the all ages bit fool you. This comic is full of F-bombs. We don't know what happened, but it doesn't matter. So what if Pacific Rim happened in Guatemala instead of Hong Kong?
That's good. I got Neon Genesis vibes from this, but Pacific Rim, it's here too.
It's Pacific Rim, basically. Neon Genesis Evangelion is also Pacific Rim, basically, or at least
other way around, pal.
Mechs.
Other way around.
Yeah. Calm down.
One begat the other.
Hence, that is why we have Tetza instead of Kaiju. The story seems pretty straightforward at first, letting the art do most of the work to wow the reader.
It's gorgeous.
And boy, does it.
Holy shit, it's good.
There is a big twist in the final pages. It complicates things for Anita and for humanity's defenders. It shows that the shiny new technology that created this Dawnrunner prototype isn't working out exactly as planned. What a twist.
That's kind of the Neon Genesis thing. So there's a very similar story vibe there, is why I would bring it up.
Okay. I've never read or watched
of course
Neon
not.
Genesis.
Of course not. So. It's a masterpiece. Why would you have watched it or paid attention to it?
A lot of masterpieces in the world, man. I haven't seen them all.
Right.
The art by Evan Cagle is astounding. It's extremely detailed in the backgrounds and in the textures. The figure drawing is fluid and it's dynamic, and the design of the Iron Kings is bonkers.
Yeah.
Like they're sort of humanoid, but also sort of not humanoid.
Yeah, it's
like you can look at it close and be like, okay, well, those are legs.
Sort of crustacean dinosaur humanoid
bugs
thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
They're weird. There is a distinct lack. If you look closely, there's a distinct lack, like not none, but much less than you would expect, of solid black in this book.
Yeah.
Most of the shading is done with like intricately composed, distinct fields of lines.
Gives me big Otomo vibes, huge Otomo vibes. Like This dude is a master. He's incredible.
Yeah, hands down, this art is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Dawnrunner #1 is a comic that revels in its inspirations. You know, it's a very thinly veiled kind of take on Pacific Rim or Attack on Titan or Neon Genesis Evangelion. I say Attack on Titan because there's the whole deal with about how they built the wall.
I mean, I guess.
And the wall keeps the monsters out.
It's Mecha versus Kaiju.
It's Mecha versus Kaiju.
Yeah.
Or Tetsa. But Ram V's script and Evan Cagel's art, they bring something fresh and new to that giant mech versus giant monster genre. This is a huge buy it. I thought this book was amazing.
Yeah, the scope of this book is just intense. Like, this reminded me of like Ultra Mega, that Image one shot that we got a while back, where it was just like, I cannot believe how big they made these pictures look in, a comic book format. Kegel is incredible. One complaint and one complaint only. Tetsa sounds like something that Taco Bell markets to combat Little Caesar's $5, pizza on the go or something. I don't like Tetsa.
That is racist.
Massive.
Good job.
Buy it. Massive buy it. You really think there's a bunch of Mexicans working behind the marketing at Taco Bell, Joe? Bad news. Puppy and Kitty time in Ziggurat, and we're talking about Man's Best, #1 from Boom. It's 32 pages for $3.99, written by Pornsack Pitchett, cover and art by Jesse Lonergan, letters by Jeff Powell. Here is your solicit. Homeward bound on an alien world, Man's Best follows 3 emotional support pets living on the Starship Horizon, a spacecraft searching for a new home to house a humanity compromised by bad decisions and corporate greed. Doesn't sound like anything we can relate to today. But after the ship crashes and the crew is captured, these loyal pets are their owner's only hope. Outfitted in outrageous tech, these 3 best friends must traverse a hostile world to rescue their owners, leaving them the only hope for humanity that might not be worth saving. In a harrowing adventure, the pets are faced with challenges that threaten to destroy their most valuable treasure, their friendship.
Yeah, buddy.
So we've got Porthos, Athos, and instead of a third musketeer, Lovey are your main characters, which I kind of loved. Like, she was going to name this boxer, whatever the other musketeer's name is.
Porthos, Athos, and Aramis.
Yes, but he was just so sweet. He had to be Lovey. Yeah. And there's really nice work here, like telling the story from the pet point of view, and getting some of like the human insight, right? Like, I think for the most part, the script almost came off as a little silly to me. And I was like, I don't know what I feel about this. And as I read it, I picked up like, I think we're sort of seeing everything from the pet's point of view, because even when the people are talking, the pets are around. There isn't a scene where they aren't there. So it's like how they're interpreting a lot of this, and they hear what the owners are saying. And maybe they understand it because of,
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think that there's plenty of dialogue that's like maybe they're there for it, but it's not like a translation.
No, I don't think it's like a translation. I think it's
the scientist has inner monologue. The captain has like dialogue.
But I think they say certain things and you can hear, like, the animals are like, the doctor is sad. And maybe they're.
Oh yeah, the pets react in a way that like they're feeding off like vibes because the pets don't speak English.
Yeah, and like the doctor's upset in a certain scene, and the pets are just like, oh, she's upset because we didn't do good in our holographic simulation or whatever. Like, the whole world revolves around them making this crew happy. So it makes perfect sense when the crew gets in trouble. They're like, well, we just got to save them. We got to go do the thing. And like put our life and limb against these giant monsters. Again, this is our second giant monster book here, basically.
Yeah, like the pets think that they're the ones protecting the crew.
Yeah, I mean, it's like just like your dog at home when the mailman comes to the door and your dog goes completely insane. Like, I got no way. My parents live here. I'll kill you. Like, they don't think about who's over there, like who that person is, or whether or not they could like kick my 9-pound pug like a football through the uprights. You know, she will kill you if you mess with dad. You know, so there's some really great dynamics here, and I think Pitch It Choate is really good at this because he probably has either a dog or a cat or both, and loves them just about as much as I love my stupid pugs. I do think not using a pug in the story, bit of a fall down, but that's a personal choice. Okay. Nothing against the book.
I mean, the pets may have been patterned after their real life pets.
I have a feeling, yes, because you could tell a lot of love goes into this. Lonergan's art style, it's almost like a children's illustrator, almost like a children's book, but it's still very firmly in the world of sequential art, comic book storytelling, sci-fi inspired, and it works really well. It's just kind of innocent and loose, sort of like the same way the pets look at the world. Like even the bad guys, the clankers, as they call them, are like kind of cartoony and ridiculous. Like
they're like, yeah, they look like giant, gangly, like unthreatening robots. That would be unthreatening, you know, if you saw like a 30-foot tall one. Yeah, of course, but otherwise they're just like, they're all like skinny legs and bulbous heads. That there's nothing really scary about them.
Right. And even the people are kind of like that. The way he draws them, they're kind of like skinny little legs and like a big face that they recognize and look at, you know, and are drawn to because of that, because this is their emotional support animals. This is how they know us. Look at our face and they smell us. Right. Man's Best sets up a compelling animal helmed sci-fi story without getting too cute. I was afraid this could slip into just like adorable so fast, but it never really does. There's real stakes. There's mystery here. The animals can only experience what might otherwise be terrifying for humans in their very simplistic way. And I like that. They want to help the people they're supposed to keep happy and safe. And it makes for a very compelling and sweet first issue. I'm giving this a buy it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this was fantastic. I mean, I don't know. You picked a comic book about cute animals, like going into space, and were worried it was going to veer into cutesy territory.
No, like way too cute. It could get too cute way too fast.
I mean,
we both
like I took one look at it and went, "This ain't exactly We Three, bud."
No, it could
like,
go.
Come on.
It could go one of two ways. Typically, if the animals talk, they don't die, but that's not always the rule.
I mean, it was also described as homeward bound in space.
Right.
So.
Right.
This was wonderful. I loved the art. I loved the way the animals kind of talked to each other. You know, they spoke, their dialogue rather to each other was in sort of like stilted English, not so minimal as like the We Three animals, which were like dog good, you know, but it was really like Pitch It Choate was translating their yips and yaps.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And I really liked it. This is a buy it. The art is really wonderful. Jesse Lonergan's a really talented guy. I can't wait to read more of this. I really liked it. The Goon ain't the only one turning 25 today. Well, last week. Sorry, guys. We missed your birthday.
Sure.
But we're talking about Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 25 from DC. It's written by Mark Waid with art by Steve Pugh and Dan Mora. Colors are by Adriano Lucas and Tamara Bonvillain. Letters are by Steve Wands. Covers by Dan Mora. It's 40 pages for $4.99, and here is your solicit. Join Batman and Superman as the world's finest team celebrates 25 issues of World's Finest.
Hey,
thanks for mentioning it twice.
They arguably look a lot better than the Goon at 25 too. So.
Yes, yeah. Well, this is Marvel math to the extreme though, because World's Finest has been around since the 40s.
Of course.
This oversized special issue takes our heroes around the DCU and beyond with a special lead story that will at last showcase the first meeting between the Joker and Lex Luthor. The world's finest villains form an unholy alliance and will send chills down the spines of the DCU heroes forevermore. Plus, spinning out of the events of the world's finest annual, Doom Might strikes and points the way to the next world's finest epic.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not a Might fan or a Mitzelblick
I
fan.
know,
It just doesn't.
it's fine.
It does nothing for me.
Move over, world's finest, and watch out for the world's vilest. Mark Waid gives us a modern take on Luthor and Joker's first meeting. Really, it's the first telling of their first meeting. They did meet for the first time in 1957. The story was nothing to write home about, but it wasn't like...
The story was super racist.
This is like in continuity how Joker and Lex met. Luthor needs Joker to help him decipher an ancient supernatural map that drives anyone who tries to read it insane. Luckily, the Joker's already there, so it's not going to be a problem.
Also, you might drive the reader a bit insane, too, because this is a wild friggin' ride we're on.
Sure. While this is firmly set during Lex's secretly evil businessman years, we do get an appearance of his sexy high-collared green and purple jumpsuit. I love that look.
Love it.
I love jumpsuit Lex.
Oh, yeah.
Wade's Joker is straight out of Batman the Animated Series, so much so that I could hear Mark Hamill's voice in my head when I read the Joker's dialogue. He's cool and rational one second, he's batshit insane the next.
I like the choice. Honestly, because I think this Mark Waid is just like, look, I want to write this Joker. I realize this is not the Joker that we've seen recently in Batman and whatnot, but this one works really well for this story. So here we go. World's Finest kind of doesn't care, and I like that.
Right, yeah. I mean, and I don't know that he consciously chose to homage any specific take.
No, but I hear what you're saying.
This is definitely sort of an evergreen take on the Joker, like you might find in the Batman animated series.
And I love how much Lex hates him.
Yeah.
It's like the whole time. It's like, this is absurd. It's great.
I'm not going to spoil where the map leads, other than to say that there's a nice little bit of synergy with one of Wade's other projects. You could probably connect those dots. Joker's inevitable betrayal and Lex's ultimate defeat are done really well. It illustrates how delusional Lex is in his own way. Like, he couldn't fathom a scenario where Joker would outsmart him. And even though he quote unquote saves the world from the Joker, the world would never have been in peril if it wasn't for Lex's actions.
That's what's so great about it, though. It's like, this is Lex's only weakness, his ego. That's
right.
It.
Well, and it's like, that's the whole deal where he's like, Superman is holding humanity back, and if Superman wasn't here, then humanity would pull itself up by its bootstraps and become great. And Superman's like, why don't you use your fortune and your genius to change the world forever?
Because you're here.
And then he doesn't do it.
Because,
and then Lex just doesn't do it.
Because you're in the way, Superman.
Yeah, right.
That's
He's
why.
In the way. The backup teases the next big storyline. It features a fight scene that you need to see to believe.
Yeah.
Excellent art throughout. Steve Pugh's Joker is legitimately terrifying. Like, when he turned on the crazy, I was like, whoa. Yeah. I was a little taken aback.
Yeah.
The creature Lex and Joker fight is amazing. I really wanted to describe it, but I think I should let you see it for yourselves.
Yeah, don't
because
do it. It's worth the price of admission, certainly.
It's so goofy and also scary at the same time. It's weird. Dan Mora does what Dan Mora does, which is be awesome. So what more is there? What more needs to be said about that? You've all seen his work. World's Finest 25, in my opinion. I have a feeling that things are going to differ here. It's a great one and done issue. It's got a solid tease for the next arc. If you've loved the series so far, this will be no exception. If you haven't read the series before, this is a fine issue to check out.
It'll be fine.
I'm giving this a buy it.
Yeah, I'm giving it a buy it too. I had a great time here. I don't know why you didn't think I would. This is what Mark...
because Mark spent my entire review going, I hate Bad Mike.
Well, that's the backup I don't care so much for, because I don't care about those, like the idea of Mistleplick and Batmite and adorable, unstoppable, reality warping cartoon versions of the JLA. I just don't care. I don't care. All right. But this story is fantastic. It's Mark Waid spilling his Silver Age brain out into a modern comic book with amazing art and selling some really ridiculous ideas that are just irresistible. You can't fight it. And this is what he does. And it's just great. It's an open love letter to Lex and the Joker, and it's a ton of fun. The colors are outlandishly bright. Like, I don't know how they got colors this bright at some point. It's just like, wow, it's crazy. This is a great looking book. It's a buy.
New comics from the week of Wednesday, March 27. Oh yeah.
We're not going to let Superman and Batman steal Goon's thunder. Let's get right into it. It's the Goon. Them That Don't Stay Dead, number 1 of 4. From Dark Horse. We're back at Dark Horse, by the way. 40 pages, $3.99, written and drawn. And I mean, the whole shebang is by Eric Powell. He's a one-man machine. Here's your solicit. To mark the 25th anniversary of the Goon, Eric Powell returns with an all-new miniseries, Them That Don't Stay Dead. The return to Lonely Street hasn't been easy for the Goon and Frankie, and just as they finally got the various gangs of bloodsuckers and night stalkers back in line, and they can finally relax with a nice night out, bowling, a new threat appears. One that will shake the very foundations of Nameless Town. Also, Spider gets hooked on the junk drama with an alternate special edition cover by Craig Davidson, which is also really nice. But I don't know why, like, why would you not buy the Eric Powell cover of the Goon?
I don't know, but variety's the spice of life.
Yeah. Davidson's work is well known for its depiction of childhood pop culture fantasy from Star Wars to Marvel superheroes. Davidson's art reminds of what, okay, give me a break. It's a lot for like pumping up the please buy the variant here, you guys. The Goon had been back at Powell's Albatross Funny Books until 2022's issue 14. We haven't seen a 15 yet. I have a feeling Dark Horse will publish a 15 because he's done that before when they kind of jump back and forth. But you don't need to worry about any of that here. This is a Goon mystery. There's a tough as nails dame, a drug dealer, an evil kid with a duck that wants to take the Goon down. All the usual busy plot madness that the Goon deals with, basically by beating the crap out of something or someone, sort of like Hellboy, but with a lot less responsibility and interest in knowing what he's punching.
And a lot more liquor.
Yeah, I mean, a lot more booze. Like, the Goon is not at work. The Goon is pissed off he has to do this shit, but somebody's got to do it, and he's the Goon.
I mean, it is kind of his job.
I mean, like, is it? I don't know if he gets paychecks for this.
I guess
stuff.
I don't know. In the beginning, he was like a bodyguard or something. He worked for somebody.
I think he just legit hates vampires, zombies. Like, he is not putting up with this shit.
Maybe.
There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek horror here with pokes at modern politics. I love the aggrieved hetero white vampire group here.
Listen, this is a spoiler, but we should probably, I think we should spoil this a little bit. A gang of vampires run afoul of a MAGA rally, except it's not a MAGA rally.
Pretty
it's called
much.
The annual meeting of the Organization of Harumph. AKA the Hedro Anglo Radical Revolution utilizing manly power heritage.
That's so perfect. Like, Powell is so good at this shit. I love him. His art, I mean, like, I don't know what else to say about Powell's art. It's black and white with gray wash, and that is all he needs for just
back to black and white.
Yeah.
It has been, Goon has been in color for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if the most recent Albatross series was all in color.
I guess I don't know that
not.
either.
I'm not really sure. It's been a while. I'd have to go back and look. Yeah. But look, this dude is a master cartoonist. No question. Like Bill Watterson level master. He's amazing at what he does.
His work very much reminds me of old school Mad Magazine legends like Jack Davis.
Definitely.
You know, there's like chiseled. His faces look chiseled. Every face, whether it's a tough looking face or a twerpy looking face or a
monster face. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, like, Jack Davis drew that way.
Yeah. Or a spider on drugs. Like, you can tell that spider is in distress. It's great. It's great to see the Goon back. I don't care where it's being published. And it's scary to think that I've been reading this book for almost 20 years. If you're looking for fun horror with art by a master that should get way more recognition than he does, you cannot go wrong with the Goon. Now it's back at Dark Horse. I would guess they'll be reprinting the entire Goon library very soon. If you've never checked it out, pick up the Goon. I cannot say enough about how wonderful this book is. It is a massive buy it.
I totally agree. I love the Goon. I've been a fan of the Goon for a lot of years. I don't want to, pretend to be all cool and say I've been reading it since day one, because I haven't. But,
I haven't read. Yeah, I mean, like none of us were.
But I've been reading it long enough. I have been reading it long enough that at the time that I became interested in the Goon, you could order a 3-pack of the original Avatar miniseries.
Yeah.
From Diamond, from previews. So this would have been in 2001, 2002. And it's just like, those books are impossible to find and very valuable.
Yeah.
I lose track of the Goon, and then my fandom of the Goon comes in waves, because I lose track of it and it changes publishers, and then I rediscover it and then I lose track of it. And I'm always happy when it comes back into my kind of like my back to my reading pile, because it's always a great time.
Yeah.
The art is always brilliant. This issue was hilarious. The kid with the duck is very funny.
He's great.
The scenes with the kid with the duck at the beginning.
When he shows up at the occult library and he knows the secret knock. Yeah, he shows up at
the occult library. He knows the secret knock.
They're like, how'd you get that secret knock? He's like, oh, I bought it off this guy that was trying to reanimate a dead cat or something. They're like, God damn it, Kevin.
Yeah, right. It was Chad. Chad.
Yeah.
Because a few panels earlier, they're like, the knock at the door, and you see a voice from behind the door, and it's like, if that's Chad, tell him to get lost.
Yeah.
I'm mad at him. And then Chad's the one that the kid bought the knock from. Yeah, it's like effortlessly funny. This is a huge buy it. Check out the Goon. And the great thing about the Goon is that it does not matter if you've been reading it since day one or since 2024. Every first issue of the Goon is a jumping on point. Yeah. Every single one.
Just get in, grab a beer, grab a whiskey. We're doing the Goon. Here we go.
Like even the first issue of the Goon picked up right in mid story. It's like, here's all you need to know. The Goon works for this guy. There's a zombie priest.
Yeah.
Shit's weird. Let's go.
Yeah, you'll be fine. I know you hated these word balloons.
You're wrong.
Really? Mm-hmm. So square word balloons bother you, but this shit didn't?
My next book is Sam and Twitch, Case Files #1 from Image Comics. It's co-plotted by Todd McFarlane and John Goff. Script is by Todd McFarlane. Art is by Szymon Kudranski. I'm sure it's pronounced Simon.
It's Simon.
Colors are by FCO Placentia with Selena Saldana. Letters are by comic book legend Tom Orzechowski, letterer of nearly every single one of Chris Claremont's Uncanny X-Men issues.
No kidding. Huh. All right. Okay.
Cover is by Kevin Keane. It's 32 pages for $2.99. Good on you, Todd.
There you go.
Here's your solicit. Series premiere.
Not in all caps for some reason. They'll just be like, thank you, Image.
Thank you, Image. Your fan favorite detectives are back in their new ongoing series, Sam and Twitch Case Files. From the world of Spawn, acclaimed creator Todd McFarlane and artist Simon Kudranski bring you a tale of murder, intrigue, and deception in this noir crime drama. Sorry, Simon. There's only room for one of you to be acclaimed.
Simon is Polish, by the way. That's why he spells his name like that.
Regardless, I did not know. This issue starts off strong with a great, quote unquote, cold open that teases the mystery of this arc before it cuts back to our heroes. But then it grinds to a halt.
Yeah.
As we spend what seems like 97 pages dealing with Sam's disciplinary problems. Yeah. And his rocky relationship with Twitch. I didn't know the guys were having problems. They should seek therapy.
But think about any good police procedural. A lot of them start like this. The murder. Oh my God. And
of course.
Every Law and Order. Every Law and Order starts like this. And then imagine if we were like, then we get Ice-T being hauled in front of a disciplinary committee for 45 minutes while he recounts his shit and his terrible attitude. And it's not going to change. Got it. Thank you.
And then there's 5 minutes of plot and then
right. Why were we there for so long?
It's true. The plot kicks back in a big way in the final couple of pages. I am pretty intrigued by that. I'm not going to lie here. Pacing problems aside, and there are pacing problems and they're big.
There's a big pacing problem.
I thought Todd McFarlane's writing in this issue was good.
Okay, conspiracy time.
No.
Todd McFarlane loves putting his name on stuff and taking credit for stuff. We don't know how much John Goff actually wrote. Now, I believe Todd McFarlane wrote the bulk of that Spawn 300 we just read, because man, did that read like Todd McFarlane Spawn bullshit. You know, I'm not saying he didn't come up with the idea or write a big chunk of it. I think John Goff is helping Todd's writing a lot, because we know what Todd's writing is like, Joe.
I think that the co-plotting does help.
Yes.
But the scripting, I think, is Todd. The script is by Todd McFarlane.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know whose choice
Like,
it
why
was.
would you, if you're going to take all the credit, why even put the guy's name on it? Just pay him a bunch of money and then send him on his way.
Because he's helping him. He's helping him out. He's the Todd. This is Todd's help. You don't want the Todd's help?
Conspiracy rejected.
Come on.
Go back to the drawing board.
Whatever.
Not everything is a conspiracy. It also could be that, like, this like Sam and Twitch, the weird occult crimes thing, is more in Todd's wheelhouse as a writer.
Look, maybe it is, but I don't know. The choice to veer away from the interesting part of the book for as long as they do, it's odd. It's odd. I don't know what's going on here.
I understand that it's odd, but again, I think that, so when I say that the writing is good, what I mean to say is the dialogue is good.
The dialogue
I thought
is
the
good.
dialogue was good, but a comic book script is not all dialogue. It's also pacing.
Agreed.
And we already established that the pacing in this comic is glacial. It's bad.
Yeah.
But the dialogue is strong, and I'm going to give McFarlane credit for that because he deserves it. The art is a gorgeous blend of hand-drawn lines and digital effects. So, like, I'm sure it's all digitally done, but some of the lines,
definitely,
like, you draw with a stylus on your iPad or your tablet or whatever. But it mixes with the digital effects that Kodransky adds to create the atmosphere of his comics.
Yeah.
It's got incredible layouts.
His Something Epic book at Image. Remember, we both read it and we were just like, holy shit, this guy took a massive jump in not to say he was ever bad, but leveled up big time.
I am on record as hating Kodransky's art in the past. I really didn't like his work on Action Comics when Bendis was writing it. I also really didn't like his work on Fallen Angels, that Age of Krakoa launch title. I thought it was awful.
He did some weird work on that New 52 Green Arrow as well, like the end of it. He was on like 40,
I never read that book.
48 through 52.
Issue 1, and that was it.
I remember picking it up because I was like, this cover art looks neat. I don't love it.
But look, I'll admit, I don't know if he's leveled up or if he's just, he shines better outside of like the big two, but his work at Image has been exceptional. That said, this issue's got incredible layouts, especially the 2-page spread at the end where the plot finally kicks in. But all that said, there is something kind of off about almost all of the people. Especially Sam.
Agreed.
I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's a facial thing where it's just like something, and I can't put my finger on it. Like, it's still great, but there's something
not
almost
right.
Uncanny Valley kind of like to it, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's a term. Yeah. Like that's the term they use when like a video, there's
a video game
or CGI where it's just like trying to make it as realistic as possible. Oh no, too much.
That's what I think that's what I mean. Like, though, it's like, it's almost so realistic that it passes art and goes, that's kind of creepy. I don't know.
I don't know if I would classify what he's doing here as realistic, at least not in the faces, but yes, to what you're saying, but especially with Sam, he's supposed to look like this fat dude with multiple chins.
Right.
And he is, but his head in many scenes just kind of looks like it's bursting forth from his collar. He looks like Edgar from Men in Black. I absolutely love the lettering, to answer Matt's initial query.
It blows my mind.
I understand I'm on record as hating square word balloons. A lot of that is kind of a joke. I mean, I'm not super fond of them, but I don't hate them as much as I let on. Here, though, there are no word balloons at all. There's just hard-edged white typeface with wispy trails that lead to the speaker. And it's an affect that they've been using on Sam and Twitch specifically for years and years. And I love that they're sticking with it. I think it makes this book kind of stand apart. And for some reason, it works for me.
I don't have a problem with it. I just thought you were going to hate it. I thought for sure you'd be like, duh.
I understand. I have a history. I get it.
Yeah.
Look, man, I hate Spawn, but I love Sam and Twitch. I've loved Sam and Twitch since the early 2000s.
Wow. I did not know that.
It's true.
Okay.
Well, once Bendis came onto the scene, I admit I was a bandwagon guy. Once Bendis got on the scene,
but after a while, I was like, I love Bendis doing other stuff.
Well, I stopped reading Sam and Twitch.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I ever loved Sam Twitch. I will say it was good. It was good for a while.
I loved Sam and Twitch when Bendis was writing it for sure. I love the concept of Sam and Twitch in general. There's just something fun about normal ass cops investigating weird ass crimes.
Sure.
This issue does have a lot going for it. It moves too slow. Pick up the pace, Todd, and you'll be golden. I'm giving this a strong skim it because I was expecting to hate it. And I read it and I was like, I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I think the art does a lot of heavy lifting. I think the setup does a lot of heavy lifting. I don't know if I'm going to be back, honestly, if it's going to be paced like this. Now, maybe it's off to the races with these last pages, but I'm with you. It's a skim it for me. It's a strong skim it for me as well.
I mean, look, if the pacing's like this every month, yeah, I might stop reading it.
Yeah,
but
I'm probably done.
The plot has kicked in now, and so we'll see.
Yeah,
it's worth a second look.
Crawl out of Todd McFarlane's nihilistic hell and talk about Batman, the Dark Age, #1. It's a little brighter. It's not as dark as it sounds.
It's a different kind of nihilistic hell.
It's from DC. It's 48 pages for $5.99. Written by Mark Russell. Cover and art by Mike Allred. Colors by his lovely wife, Laura Allred. And letters by David Sharp. Here's your solicit. The Eisner-nominated Superman Space Age team, Mark Russell and Mike Allred, take on the Dark Knight. Meet Bruce Wayne, Gotham's favorite delinquent son. In an origin story like no other, witness the boy become a Dark Knight shaped by a city in turmoil as it marches towards its prophesized doom. Gotham comes alive, filled with the iconic characters who've loved and hated Batman over the years like you've never seen them before. Spinning out of the Eisner-nominated Superman Space Age, Mark Russell and Mike Allred return to give audiences a look at Batman as a figure in American history fighting for justice in a world gone mad. So the story here is flashing back and forth from this aging Bruce Wayne in a home, essentially, which, like you're a billionaire. I don't think you necessarily go to an old folks home, but maybe something happened. I don't know. This is a different origin.
Is he a billionaire, though?
That's what I'm saying. They set that up very quickly by showing us, like, yes, there's a Batman in a seedy Gotham. There is a very space age looking Gotham, and it's gorgeous. Allred's future of Gotham is like Epcot Center on meth. It's sleek silver and steel. Everything's curved. There's monorails everywhere. Like people live in like little weird lunchbox houses that robots can move to different part of the city if you want. It's amazing. But then we also see Batman fighting in this kind of seedy old Gotham as well. And we get a further flashback to young Bruce before he's Batman. This is a very different origin for Bats. And I like it. I kind of like what they're doing here because, like, look, this is a Batman growing up in the late 50s, early 60s. Like, there's a point where he bumps into Lenny Bruce or
Lenny Bruce. I was like, is this supposed to be Lenny Bruce?
It's totally.
It has to be Lenny Bruce.
They don't name him, but it's gotta be, right?
Well, at first I was like, this isn't the Joker, is it?
No.
But yeah, no, it's Lenny Bruce.
Yeah. And this is probably what would happen to super billionaire rich kid in late 50s, 60s America, not the DC universe as we know it, but like American history. And Russell does a fantastic job just kind of setting this all up with, and they're just minor twists. There's nothing that's going to piss anybody off, but there's minor twists where you go, yeah, okay. I don't
know, man. I think that this is a pretty major deviation.
Well, I mean, in the sense that, like, look, he's not traveling the world with a bunch of ninjas and stuff. And like, this is more realistic. It's more grounded. Yeah.
All right. Look, I'm going to spoil this part, this tiny, small part. Bruce does not go with his parents to the movies.
I mean, sure. But I guess what I'm saying is this is not a what if or an Elseworlds in the sense of like.
Well, yeah, it's not like what if Batman was Superman.
What if Batman was raised by vampires? You know, it's not like that.
No, not like that. But it's sort of like, it's exactly like what Mark Russell has been doing it's like the life story series at Marvel, where it's like, what if Spider-Man actually did debut in 1963 and aged in real time.
Yeah.
And grew with historical events. Now, this is taking it one step way, way farther, where it's like the whole world is totally different.
Right. It's taking place in some real world history, just sort of like the Superman Space Age did, but it goes to a different place in the future. Of course. There's superheroes
the
there.
History unfolds differently because there are superheroes here.
Absolutely. I love Alred's Batman. There's people that bitch about it and say like it looks weird or that he just looks like a skinny dude in the bat suit. I think he looks great. I love the curved ears.
I didn't like how he looked in the Superman book, but I think he looks way better in this book.
I still liked it, but I'm an Alred apologist. I totally understand.
It looks goofy to me.
There's something he does about like his cartoonish style, and it's very pop art cartoony, but it like lends this realism to the bat suit for some reason, where it just looks like a guy wearing a bat suit. You know, it's not so much, you know, super techie, detailed, Jim Lee, it's a guy in a costume.
I mean, he's got pouches around his thighs, like like Superboy.
Yeah,
but other than that,
you can tell he's good looking. You know, like Bruce's dad is totally Clark Gable, no question. I mean, this is Alred doing Alred.
Yeah. Thomas Wayne is Clark Gable.
I thought this is a great start, though. This creative team takes what could have otherwise been another What If Batman with a slight twist to his origin and makes it a really compelling real world look at what probably would happen to a kid like Bruce Wayne when he growing up in this time. Alred was born to draw this era. He does an amazing job with the look of space age Gotham and the Gotham of tomorrow, while Russell's script plays on his themes of wealth, poverty, and power that he's so good at. This is an excellent first issue, and they're not just like, all right, it worked with Superman, now let's do it to Batman. They've thought it out. This is great. It's a buy it.
Yeah, I agree. This was fantastic, and there were some things about the Superman book that I didn't love. I loved this issue. I thought this was absolutely incredible. The art, of course, there's nothing I can say that people have not already said about Mike Allred that you haven't already said.
Modern master. I mean, come on.
In your review. I think Mark Russell does take plenty of liberties with Batman's origin, and that's okay because we're not doing a retelling. We're doing a different kind of story. Like it's almost safe to consider this in Elseworlds.
Sure. Because it's definitely not the DCU. I'll give you that.
Right. I mean, don't obsess about where it fits in because it doesn't.
No.
But like there are liberties that are taken with who killed the Waynes, you know, for example.
Right.
And who's in charge of Wayne Enterprises, and it's all connected. There are small things that I'm sure in tandem with Russell, but that Allred puts into the art in the future scenes with Old Man Bruce. The year is 2030, by the way. And so he's living in Gotham Manors, and he goes to visit Dr. Grayson.
Yeah.
For counseling. And it's this raven-haired woman. Did this old man just imagine all of this and fill in the gaps with names from his present day? But then you look, and on the wall behind her, they don't call any attention to it. On the wall behind her is a photo of what you can assume are her parents, and it is a couple that is a dead ringer for Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon.
Yeah.
And it's just like little touches like that fill in the world. I thought this was a tremendous read. I really, really liked it. It's a huge buy. Just in time for the third episode of the show to come out, it is the prelude to the show. X-Men 97, number 1, from Marvel Comics. It's written by Steve Fox, with art by Salva Espin, colors by Matt Mila, letters by VC's Joe Sabino. I can't believe we went the entire episode with only one mention of virtual calligraphy.
Is this the only Marvel book we did?
It might be.
Yeah, this is the only Marvel book we did.
How about that?
There you go.
Cover is by Todd Knock and Rochelle Rosenberg. It is 40 pages for $4.99. Here's your solicit. The official prelude to the hotly anticipated Disney Plus show. The X-Men are back, and the 90s have never looked better. In this official prelude to the upcoming X-Men 97, created in collaboration with the showrunners, discover what Storm, Jubilee, Wolverine, and the rest of the beloved 90s X-Men cast have been up to in the time before they return. Startling revelations here lead directly into the hotly anticipated new series. Don't miss out.
Thank God now we can finally understand what happened in these first 2 episodes.
I know.
I was so lost.
It ain't the show's fault.
No.
Marvel just dropped the ball on the scheduling.
This also isn't germane to anything that's happening. In
No,
the
I mean, actually, you're wrong, but we'll get into it.
Please.
I mean, I don't think it's going to dictate the show, but it is germane. Look, the story does exactly what it sets out to do, which is bridge the gap between the end of X-Men 92 and the beginning of X-Men 97. Several plot points in this issue have already played out on the show, so it's not just a bland adaptation. It's Wednesday, March 27th, so third episode came out today. I like that the X-Men are always so certain that they'll get hassled by the government, even though mutants are on good terms right now. Like, they bust up a Friends of Humanity rally, and then Valerie Cooper shows up with a bunch of like agents with big guns and stuff, and the X-Men are like, "Back off, Val! We're the good guys now." And Valerie's like, "Easy." We're not here for you.
Yeah, like I almost didn't get it a little bit. Like, I guess it's funny. I guess it was humorous.
They're so used to being persecuted.
I suppose, yeah. And like they act like that in the cartoon too. They're like, it's just written a certain way. Very impetuous.
Yeah, and also, at the time of this, so if we're following the conceit that the 1992 to 1997 X-Men show ended ... and then it's X-Men 97, the first episode of the new show.
Right.
It's not that a ton of time has passed. So following the assassination of Professor X by, I don't even remember who it was.
Wasn't it Trask?
I don't remember.
I think
it was Henry Gyrick.
Oh, Gyrick.
Following the death of Professor X, he was assassinated by Henry Gyrick. The president, who is Robert Kelly, who is a prominent figure in Claremont's stories, if you remember, is making a concerted effort to pass legislation, mutant-friendly legislation, just like, look, the mutants, they saved us. The X-Men are heroes. And so all of the stuff from the previous 5 years with like the Sentinel program and all this,
no, I get it.
They shut it down.
I get it.
The X-Men did it.
Yeah, right now we're heroes, and they're not used to it. The dialogue,
the X-Men are like, yeah.
It's written very much like the cartoon, though, where it's just like, everything's a little simpler and quicker.
Well, yes. I mean, this is a comic book based on a cartoon.
Yes.
There are some humorous moments that I found genuinely funny. They go to a Dazzler concert for reasons, and Jubilee says something to the effect of, "Isn't this the greatest concert you've ever been to?" And Bishop says, "I wouldn't know. Music is illegal in my time." Which I thought was very funny.
I'm glad you thought that was funny.
You need to uncork it. Uncork it. That's not the right term. Let go of some of your baggage, will you?
It just didn't do anything for me. I'm sorry. I didn't laugh out loud at that part. I went, okay, that sounds like Bishop being a jerk.
Well, I think we can both agree, thank God, the Nasty Boys showed up. The Nasty Boys were a team of mutants that worked for Mr. Sinister in the 90s. They were introduced in Peter David's X Factor, co-created by Larry Stroman. They are dumb.
Yeah.
The Nasty Boys are stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But the issue, like, there's a nice little kind of, not cliffhanger per se, but a tease that, like, the Nasty Boys are so terrible at their jobs that Mr. Sinister is finding new help. And that's going to come in the form of something that will probably be a little bit more welcome.
Sure. Yeah. They're more like Shredder's Rocksteady and Bebop, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
they're bad at their job. I don't know if I give
them that much
credit.
They're
like Skeletor villains, you know, like they're just stupid.
Sure.
You know?
Right. The art is great. It matches the more simple line art of the show, but it might be just a little too stripped down. There are backgrounds. When there are backgrounds, they are almost non-existent or incomplete. Like, for example, when they go to the Dazzler show and you see the scaffolding of, where they hang the lights and stuff above the stage, but then nothing else. And so it all just looks like it's floating in a void, which is weird.
Yeah, it's and I think it's part of my problem with stuff like this when we do these animated versions. Like, I get why you make those exceptions in a cartoon. It is very hard to get all that detail that you can get in a comic book into a cartoon. It's way more work. But when you dumb it down and go, well, this is the animated version for the comic book, it doesn't do much for me. I
don't even know if I would agree that
I think it looks
the cartoon
lazy.
is this sparse.
Probably not. Probably not. But it seems like they do this in these animated versions of whatever.
They dumb it down, right? They simple it up.
And
right.
it really just, I don't know. It looks lazy to me, honestly. I think it looks lazy.
But the figure drawing is good. You know, the action is good.
Yes, I agree with that.
It's just, there are some things that are not so good. The colors are very vibrant, and the book design looks like a Trapper Keeper barfed all over the place, which is exactly what you want from a 90s throwback comic. X-Men 97, for better or for worse, it's a faithful representation of the cartoon in comic form. It's a lot of fun if you're into that sort of thing. Just don't expect too much more from it. I am giving this a strong skim it because it does its job.
It does its job, I suppose. I think I could just take the last time we reviewed this animated X-Men, which I believe Steve Fox wrote that as well, which wasn't that long ago.
No, the last time they did...
it was X-Men 97 animated.
It was X-Men. It was called X-Men 92, and it was a Battle World tie-in. It was written by Chris Sims and Chad Bowers. Chris Sims from Comics Alliance. Was the co-writer. I don't. There may have been more since then, but the last major thing I remember was X-Men 92.
Fair enough. I think I could just take my review
I mean, your
of
point
that.
stands, I think.
Yeah, and just paste it right on this. I look, if you like the cartoon and you want to read an animated version in comic form, here you go. It's fine. It didn't do much for me at all. I think the cartoon is also fine. I'm not freaking out about that. It's fun, sure. But I don't need this. This is skim it. It does a job. It's fine. It wasn't offensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not bad. Whether you like the cartoon or don't,
it's fine.
Like, you've got to agree that there's nothing terrible about this.
No, other than like the choices.
Which is faint praise, I understand.
Choices that are made to sort of dumb it down a little bit because it's an animated version. Like, I just don't. Whatever. Fine. That doesn't interest me.
You can find links in our show notes for more details on these comics, but now it's time to pick the best comic we read from this pile and add it to the THN Permanent Collection. Matt, I'm really having a hard time choosing between my top two. Which of these comics made you cry and kiss your pugs more than usual?
Okay, had they put a pug in Man's Best, I wouldn't have been able to resist it. They fell down with the boxer. I like boxers are perfectly good. I got to give it to Dawnrunner number 1. Dawnrunner was incredible. It was just incredible. It looked amazing. I love the setup, the art. Jesus Christ, this guy is good. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah. You know, it was neck and neck between Dawnrunner and Batman: The Dark Age, but you're right. That Evan Cagle, the work in that book is something special.
Can't fight it. And this is different than the majority of what Ram V writes. This is a straightforward mecha versus monster story. There's no dreams. There's no poems. There's no,
there's no allegory.
Psychology.
There's no, right.
No.
It's like, even Rare Flavors, which I love,
still,
is full of, symbolism and stuff.
Yeah.
This is just like giant robot jumps on the back of a giant monster.
Yeah, I think this is Ram V. think this is Ram V saying to his critics, look, I can do this too. Okay?
Now there is some more stuff going on with the twist at the end, but we won't get into that. But so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, a Dawnrunner, you check it out, man.
Man, that book is great.
It's really fantastic.
It's time to head up to THN Sanctum Sanctorum, make our must-read picks for next new comic day, April 3rd. Here's what we got sliding down the comic poll for next week. If you like Cinderella in a crop top with swords, Xenoscope has got the book for you with Cinderella Murder for All Seasons #1. Cody Ziegler takes over the Merc with a Mouth in a new Deadpool #1. All your unanswered questions from Part 1 will finally be answered in IDW's Godzilla vs. the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Part 2 #1. Patton Oswalt's Minor Threats returns with a new miniseries at Dark Horse called The Fastest Way Down #1. And just in time for WrestleMania, you can find out how terrifying it was to try and write the Iron Sheik's biography in the pages of Six Pack in Search of the WrestleMania hardcover from Little Brown Ink. True story of a guy that tried to write his biography, and Iron Sheik tried to murder him.
Yikes.
He's a crazy person. Joe Patrick, the listeners know how much you love Cinderella with swords and a short skirt, so it's pretty obvious what you're picking. Huh?
I just, you spend so much time with a group of people over the course of 14 years, and they really just get to know you. My pick for next week is Redcoat #1 from Image Comics. It's written by Jeff Johns with art by Brian Hitch. It's 48 pages for $3.99, and here is your solicit. Series premiere! Thanks, Image. Immortal, mercenary, kind of a tool. Meet Simon Pure, the newest unnamed hero. For those of you that might forget, unnamed is the term for superhumans or whatever in the Ghost Machine universe.
Well, no, it's these interconnected people are the unnamed. They're the interconnected. There's other super people that are not unnamed. They are the interconnected ones.
I don't know if that's true.
I thought that was the whole thing. Through history, these people, the unnamed, all have stories that are connected to this thing that is bigger than them.
Well, then who was the first unnamed hero?
I mean, I would assume Redcoat's one of the first ones because he's back in the past, but there might be something before him too. I don't know.
Okay, well, it's clear that we don't remember the mythology of the Ghost Machine universe. We'll go back and check out that Zero issue. But this is created by Comic All-Stars Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch. British Redcoat and all-around rogue Simon mysteriously became immortal in 1776 after a run-in with the clandestine cabal known as the Founding Fathers, which included George Washington, John Hancock, and many other prominent American Revolutionary War leaders.
Okay, I'm correct. Redcoat is the first unnamed. In 1776, Redcoat becomes immortal. The unnamed is... it centers on strange heroes throughout both America's history and future fighting the unknown war. The unnamed are the people fighting the unknown war all through time.
Okay.
So
well, fair enough then.
There you go. And Redcoat,
that's a real confusing way to phrase it then. By calling him the newest unnamed hero, that implies that there was an oldest unnamed hero.
I guess.
Since that fateful day, Simon has led a life of adventure and avarice, rubbing elbows and sometimes fists with many of history's most renowned figures, including his nemesis Benedict Arnold, Albert Einstein, Annie Oakley, and many more. One thing they all agree on, they never want to see him again. But what are the true origins and extent of Simon's power and the mysterious organization behind them? And how has it secretly shaped America and the world? Simon's on a quest to find out. Yes, we already had Geiger. Yes, we already had Junkyard Joe. But retroactively, the Ghost Machine universe properly starts here in this issue, Redcoat #1. And next week, a bunch of Ghost Machine books come out.
Yeah, ballsy for Jeff Johns to be like, yep, you guys are going to go out and spend $12 on my comics next week.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff.
I know for sure that Rook Rook comes out, the one with the animal, the guys in the animal masks.
And Geiger.
And Geiger #1, a relaunch of Geiger. So it's It's a Ghost Machine world, baby, and we're just living in it.
Hey, it's Brian Hitch. I'm of course I'm gonna check it out.
I'm excited to check it out. Like, look, I want to like Ghost Machine.
I do too, and I want Jeff
liked
Johns
that
to succeed.
primer issue that we read, and so I want to check it out.
Fair enough. My pick for next week is Akogun, Brutalizer of the Gods, #1 from Oni, written by Murewa Ayodele with art by Adedoton Akande. It's 40 pages for $5.99. Here's your solicit. In an age thought forgotten, when man, monster, and the divine all strode the earth, a lone warrior emerges to test the immortality of the cruel gods who would deal destruction with impunity. He's a one-man reckoning that stands in defiance of his divine masters with a sword in hand and a thirst for god blood. His name is Akogun, the Brutalizer. In the tradition of Robert E. Howard's Conan the Barbarian, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Thor, and the best-selling God of War franchise, superstars in the making, Ayodele and Akande, the creative duo behind I Am Iron Man and Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood.
Oh, right.
Yes. Usher in a new epic of African dark fantasy on the ancient continent of Alkebulan with a mythic cycle of cosmic destiny and unrelenting warfare colliding man against God and blade against blade, told across 3 powerful, oversized bi-monthly chapters. Steady your mind and spirit for a glorious new comics milestone, revealing the fabled origin and battle-tested fury of Akogun, Brutalizer of the Gods. So what we got here is a Nigerian revenge story, Nigerian revenge against the gods story, more or less. It's Black Conan. He's a total badass, and he is sick of what the gods have done. There's a really good preview, and there's a trailer on the Oni YouTube channel. It's great, too, that spells it all out. But basically, it's like God was drunk when he created the world. And the first thing he made was monsters. And then he made men for monsters to eat. It's this dude going to go punish God. It looks great. I'm excited for this.
Sounds tough as hell.
Oh, yeah.
The THN trade of the week is The Sacrificers Volume 1 from Image Comics. It's written by Rick Remender with art by Max Fiumara. It's 192 pages for $16.99. If only this had been out in time for our Rick Remender show. But alas.
Well, I mean, the Sacrificers, we could have read number 1.
But we reviewed Sacrifices number 1 on the show already. Okay. Tomorrow is a harmonious paradise thanks to 5 families who make everything perfect for the price of 1 child per household. Now, as that bill comes due, a son expected to give everything for a family that never loved him, and an affluent daughter determined to destroy utopia must unite to end one generation's unnaturally protracted reign. The first chapter of the hit new series by superstar creators Rick Remender and Max Fiumara. This book collects the Sacrificers 1 through 6. We reviewed the Sacrificers number 1 on the show. We really loved it. I kept reading. It's a fantastic story. The artwork is tremendous. Max Fiumara is a beast.
Yeah.
If you have not read the Sacrificers, now is your chance.
So there's some stuff for you to pick up, but we want to know what you nerds are reading next week. Let us know at our Discord. We got a new comic section. We talk about new comics every Wednesday. We freak out on them. It's a great time. All right? Be sure to put these comics on your pull list, though. If you do want to read along with us, we're going to review them on the next new comics show. We might have to just do a segment for this Ghost Machine stuff if they're going to release 3 at a time and just give you TLDR or something. I don't know.
Maybe we save them for a cosmic short box or something.
Maybe, because 3 at a time. Come on, that's a lot.
We'll see if the schedule settles down. Before we black bag this issue and file it in the adults only back issue section, it's time for a sneak peek at our Patreon Extra. You can get access to it when you support THN for as little as $1 per month. This issue's extra was inspired by a child, so I'm sorry about all the adults only references.
Yeah, but it's our fault. We can't even do the
He's
half
very
cover.
mature for 10.
We can't even do the half blackout where you can read the title because of all the wieners that we put in the title design. What were we thinking?
Because all of the legs on all the letters look like this.
Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, and more importantly, patrons that pay for this shit, the Comic Pushers are back, and this time, one of our youngest fans reaches out about an unlikely DC character that we probably don't discuss enough on this show. We have a young Hugo Tuverdic who hit us up on the Discord via Dad. We try to keep him off there because, it's kind of adult themes and whatnot. But via Dad asking, Hugo would like to know, what would the Comic Pushers push on a young, sweet, possibly addictive kid who likes this kind of stuff? As far as the Spectre goes.
He's got an addictive personality.
Yeah, we like to get them when they're young. This is how we ruin them for the rest of their life, right? I mean, come on.
It's true. So Hugo came to his dad, Hugo's dad, John Tverdic, and said, John reports that Hugo loved Kingdom Come.
Okay.
He read Kingdom Come, loved it. And his favorite character out of Kingdom Come, of all the characters in Kingdom Come, was the Spectre.
He was scary.
And so Hugo wants to know, what is up with the Spectre? And so I'm here to answer these questions. Matt Baum doesn't know shit about the Spectre.
I mean, I've read some Spectre stuff.
You know the basics.
I only know the basics.
I kid. You know the basics about the Spectre. A lot of people know the basics about the Spectre. I'm here to give you some details. I'm going to primarily focus on more modern stuff that made me a fan of the character. There are definitely great Silver and Bronze Age Spectre stories. I've never read a Golden Age Spectre story. I imagine it's nothing at all.
Of course not. Yeah, it's probably weird as hell.
Yeah. So, but those older stories, though there are gems, I'm sure they're going to be a lot harder to track down, whether they're even digitized or available in print. So, like I said, I focus on more modern stuff. These are the books that I read that made me love the Spectre.
Right on. I'm
going to kind of go in chronological order, even though I did not discover them in order. Most of the stuff I'm going to talk about, you'll be able to find on DC Universe Infinite or in back issues, because none of it's that valuable. Trades, I doubt there's any trades in print of the books that I'm talking about. Maybe one or two you might be able to find.
DC's
but again,
not great at a lot of that, honestly. Really good at getting back stuff in print, but when it comes to Spectre.
There are some Spectre trades, but the stuff I'm talking about is a little kind of off the beaten path. So I don't know if they kept it in print. I am going to start with the Spectre Volume 3, Annual Number 1. Now, why am I starting with Annual Number 1 instead of Number 1? Because it is Spectre Year 1. That year, DC did themed annuals, and every annual was a Year 1 story. And so Spectre Annual 1 is a modern retelling of the Spectre's origin, the Spectre's Golden Age origin, by the creative team, or by the current writer of that series, John Ostrander, and artist Pat Olive. The book is gorgeous. It's action-packed. It's brutal. So if you want a modern retelling of the origin of the Spectre, boom, that's your guy.
I'll check that out. I have not read that.
Yeah,
I do know this.
You should like it.
I do know this run from the Tom Mandrake covers, and man,
yes,
they're so creepy. I love them. This Spectre's terrifying, right? It
is, yeah. This annual is a little bit more kind of superhero style-y because it's a Golden Age story. He meets the JSA, that kind of stuff.
Excelsior!
That is it for THN 736. If you dig our new comic reviews, hey, check us out on our YouTube channel. There you can subscribe to each of our shows separately. We got a back issue show. We got a gang hang where we talk with you. And you can listen to him as podcasts on YouTube Music too. Next week, the back issue show returns. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a plan. X-Men 97
we have a plan, and we're not just doing another slack issue show.
No, X-Men 97 hit. We reviewed X-Men 97, the comic book cartoon adaptation. So we're doing cartoon adaptations in the pages of comics. Some are great, some not so much. We'll find out next week. Get ready.
Hey, here's where I say you missed your opportunity to review that Biker Mice from Mars shit.
It's true. Or maybe I'll sneak that one in. Who knows? If you need more THN in the meantime, join us for the THN Gang Hang Saturdays at 11 o'clock Central. Check out our Discord for details. Joe, what else can they do at the Discord?
You can get in on the action before we even air the show with our episode discussion thread. You can complain about what these pesky kids call music these days.
Real grumpuses on there.
Look, man, we were yelling at the cloud all day today. You can hear all about the latest shittiness of comic creators that you might not want to follow on social media anymore.
It's out there. We don't need to go into it here, so.
Heartbreaking, though. Or maybe you want to answer the question of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, we have somebody gunning for Goocher status.
Oh, wow.
For the first time in a long time.
You guys got to pick it up. Come on.
I know. This week's question is courtesy of Brian Domingos. What are your comic book red flags? The titles that make you give someone the side eye if they tell you that they are their favorite.
I love this. This is a great one.
It's like, oh, yeah, comics. I really love X. And then you look at them differently for the rest of your relationship.
Oh, man, I got a whole run of Housewives at Play. Okay, that's your thing.
Please keep your question of the week suggestions coming. Brian, I'm talking specifically to you. I would really love to have a Goocher back in business.
Or somebody else show up with a combo breaker.
Combo breaker. You can sign up for our Discord with the link at twoheadednerd.com/Discord. And once you're allowed in, we got a no jerks allowed policy. You can post about any of our segments or send an MP3 submission for the comic pushers, like Hugo did, Ask a Nerd, or whatever, to twoheadednerd@gmail.com, and we'll put you on the show.
If you're new to the show and you would rather we veer away from reviewing comics and into disciplinary actions that have happened to us at work recently, I assure you it's only because you haven't heard enough. The good news is you can hear the entire end of THN in our digital longbox archive at twoheadednerd.com. THN is a listener-supported podcast. It wouldn't be possible without the generosity of donors like our newest patron, Black Scorpion the 4. He might only be 8 years old, but he's paying his way, Joe Patrick.
I'm not even sure if he's 8.
Peek behind the curtain.
I think he might be
Joe
younger.
Patrick was like, can we have his real names? We can actually thank him. And his dad was like, yeah, sure. It's Black Scorpion 4. And it's like, Joe, I don't think you know what kind of family you're fucking with here.
No, that was Lord Stephen Fino that said that. It was Lord Stephen Fino that said that.
Oh, that wasn't. Regardless. If you like,
it was funny.
If you like what you hear every week, it is easy to support the show. You can sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/twoheadednerd. And hey, you can hear about some kick-ass Spectre comics that you should be rereading, you know?
Before we go, our weekly shout out goes to one of my favorite artists of all time, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, the man who literally wrote the book on DC Comics style.
So nice, they named him 4 times.
That's right.
The Spanish don't fuck around with names, man. I dig it.
They do not. The living legend celebrated his 76th birthday yesterday, and of those 7 decades, he has spent 6 of them helping to turn nerds like me into comic fans. Aww. Happy birthday, Maestro, and thank you.
Until next time, true believers, remember to pre-order your comics, or your 76-year-old retailer might just jump out of your birthday cake. This is the Two-Headed Nerd, signing off. You don't want to see him stripping at that age, you know?
You might be into it. Hey, I mean, we don't kink shame around here.
That's on you. If it's yours, if you want it. Shivers.